It's week 8, and while temperatures were rising for some, the pressure was building for all. The fleet had compressed, the weather had got more complicated, more kit was breaking, another boat was forced to abandon, and a stranger had joined the chase. Having rounded Cape Horn just before Christmas, the leaders were on record pace. In fact, they were 1,600 miles ahead of Armel Leclerc's position when he set the record in 2017. But for Yoann Richomme and Charlie Dalin, the weather systems in the South Atlantic were far from straightforward. Behind them, Sébastien Simon on the wounded Groupe de Bray had closed the gap, having sailed to the west of the Falklands. This enabled him to sail fast on starboard tack, removing, for a time at least, his broken starboard side foil from the equation. After weeks of fast-reaching conditions in the desolation of the Southern Ocean, there was an abrupt change of gear.
We've come to this cold front that is across the Southern Atlantic, and we were meant to go across it. However, we just bumped into it, stopped, and now we're in a completely different scenario where I don't think we're going to go across it. We're behind it, sailing with westerly wind, downwind again, towards the north. And we might do that for another day. It wasn't the plan at all. And it's very tough. The wind predictions are changing with every weather file we're getting, so it's very hard to have a goal. So basically, we're going where the wind wants to take us, and we're trying to make the best of it towards the route, But it's a tricky one.
Pour ce front, c'est pas très joli au classement, mais bon, c'est compliqué. Là, ça avance pas, mer d'huile. C'est un peu la loterie, quoi. C'est comme ça fait partie du jeu. Il y en aura d'autres, il y aura le poteau noir, il y aura encore d'autres transitions.
C'est menaçant de partout, menaçant devant, menaçant derrière. Voilà, je suis entouré de grains, de fronts, de machins. C'est pas... Franchement, c'est compliqué. Franchement, les fichiers là, ça veut rien dire de rien du tout. Il y en a dans tous les sens. Bon. On fait comme on peut. Ce qui est cool, c'est que au dernier classement, on a repris la tête. Mais bon, vu la tête des grains et des alentours, c'est possible qu'on s'échange la première place comme ça plusieurs fois. Mais en tout cas, c'est cool. Ça fait longtemps que j'avais pas été en tête. Et ça, c'est top. Alors on y va là. On y va. C'est bon ça. C'est bon. Allez, regardez celui-là quand même. Regardez-moi ça. Ouais, là je fais le malin en t-shirt sur le pont du bateau. Je pense que dans quelques minutes, il va y avoir un gros changement de décor.
I haven't seen a sunset in God knows how long. It's not a sunset behind the horizon, but behind this cloud bank. That's where Cape Horn is. And there you see biosurf. And here, Staten Island. We just went through a transition and got this new wind. We were coming sailing downwind with wind from there, and now we're upwind with wind from there. In between I did 2 tacks in very light wind. But all this happened in 2 hours. Very nice.
Hey, have a look at this. That green line there is the longitude of Cape Horn. That little pink boat is us. We're in it, we're in the Atlantic. We've made it past Cape Horn. Really happy with that. It's been a long 10,000 miles of Southern Ocean. The winds should start dropping off now. We can't see Cape Horn, it's 70 miles to the north of us. It's a bit of a shame. We're really happy to have made it this far and have the boat in good shape for one piece. So thanks a lot to the team, thanks a lot to everyone. I've still got another 3 or 4 weeks to go, 7,000 miles. With a couple trips along the way, so it's not going to be easy, but after we pass this milestone, take it easy, bye.
After rounding the Horn, Sam Goodchild had chosen to sail through the Le Marais Strait, inside Staten Island. The more westerly course allowed him to make up some distance. By Tuesday morning, he was right back in the fight, having retaken 8th place from Boris Herrmann, and was just 20 miles behind Nicholas Lundven in 5th. But the going was tough once north of the Falklands, with a 20 to 25 knot northerly to beat into.
Hello everyone, a little update from the South Atlantic. We're going upwind, and we're starting to stand at it, which isn't very fun, but for the first time since the start, so we won't complain. We had a couple of days of nice weather, flat water, sunshine, managed to get some job list done, and that's over for now. So yeah, we've got a week that's going to be a little bit complicated tactically. I'm going to find the best way through all the fast-moving South Atlantic. But yeah, we're in good shape. It's nice to have 2 days to get everything back in order and we're off again. So hope everyone has had a good 2024. Have a happy new year this evening, and update you next year. See ya.
Meanwhile, nearly 2 weeks after being dismasted 800 miles from land, Pip Hare and Medallia had made it into Melbourne.
Right now, I feel really grateful. I feel incredibly humbled by all of the people that have given time and energy to help me, and the people that turned up to welcome me here. It's a massive loss. But I'm also quite proud. I'm proud to have rescued myself. I'm proud to have kind of stood by the philosophy that I've always had around seamanship, and around the fact that if we choose to take these risks, if we choose to sail around the world on our own, we need to be responsible for ourselves, and I feel that that's what I've done, and I'm quite proud of that.
While Pip had a couple of weeks to begin to come to terms with the end of her race, defending champion Yannick Bestaven on Maître 5 was starting that emotional journey after his boat's steering system failed, forcing him to retire.
Je rêvais d'y venir, mais j'avais pas prévu d'y venir pendant le Vendée Globe, ça c'est sûr. J'étais plutôt fatigué parce qu'on a quand même beaucoup tiré dans la fin du Pacifique là. Et le fait d'annoncer mon abandon, de me retrouver dans une zone avec pas de vent au moteur, toute la pression qui redescend, ça a été un peu difficile, quoi. Le problème des safrans, de la barre, c'est fait depuis les Açores que je suis embêté. Et j'ai fait quand même les 3/4 du tour ou les 2/3 du tour avec ce problème-là qui a fait que s'amplifier. Je pense que c'est pour ça d'ailleurs que la mèche centrale a cassé. Si je m'arrête, c'est surtout parce que techniquement, je sens qu'il y a peut-être un problème de sécurité pour le bateau, quoi. Et puis pour moi avec, et puis je pense qu'il ne faut pas s'obstiner quand il y a des soucis comme ça, parce que naviguer en bon marin aussi, ça veut dire prendre les bonnes décisions, et les bonnes décisions, c'est celles qui font qu'il n'y aura pas des secours qui viendront nous chercher en mer. Maintenant, je suis là, la course est terminée. L'idée, c'est de réparer le bateau, de comprendre aussi déjà pourquoi les différentes pièces structurelles ont cassé. Et puis voir quel est le plan, la réparation. Est-ce que ça peut être rapide pour que je puisse repartir vers les Sables d'Olonne le plus tôt possible et le mieux possible, même si je suis hors course.
Further back, Isabelle Joschke, MACSF, had suffered a string of problems, including an issue with her engine, a keel ram sensor problem, a tear in her mainsail and a broken mainsheet track. But, perhaps worst of all, she also had broken a starboard foil.
Très déçue parce que ma course elle va plus du tout être la même à partir de maintenant. Ça veut dire que là, prendre une tempête sans foil en bâbord à mur, c'est ultra chaud. Et j'espère aussi que la météo sera clémente après le Horn, parce que ça c'est aussi un petit dossier.
But the Vendée Globe isn't the only race around the world that's taking place right now. On the 20th of December, the crew of the L-Team trimaran Sodebo started their second attempt at breaking the record for a fully crewed non-stop lap of the planet. Success would also mean winning the coveted Jules Verne trophy, which has been held by Francis Joyann and his crew aboard E-Deck since 2017. Sodebo's last attempt at the Jules Verne back in November was thwarted after they suffered serious damage to their central rudder. Having returned, repaired and restarted, after just 11 days the giant 32-metre trimaran was over 750 nautical miles ahead of the record pace as they approached the Cape of Good Hope. Here's a quick taste of what life at 35 knots in the Indian Ocean is like. If the crew of Sodebo can keep up this blistering pace, there's a good chance that she'll catch and overtake some of the Vendée Globe fleet. Something that has become very clear in this edition of the race is the speed advantage of the foiling boats over the Daggerboard fleet. In the last edition of the race 4 years ago, Yoann Richomme sailed Yes We Can, a Daggerboard boat built in 2007. He finished in 4th place, just 10 hours behind the winner, Yannick Bestaven. This time around, Richomme, to the surprise of absolutely no one, was the top Daggerboard boat as he passed Point Nemo and closed on Cape Horn. He was an impressive 900 miles ahead of the next non-foiler. But here's the thing, he was lying 16th overall and yet a massive 3,800 miles behind the race leader. Weather conditions play a big part in the competitiveness or otherwise of the non-foilers, and until fairly recently, opinions have been divided as to whether the days of the Daggerboards are over when it comes to lapping the planet in an IMOCA. But this race surely marks an end to that debate. This is Richomme's 6th Vendée, and he went against the trend by commissioning a new boat that was a non-foiler. Tout commence en Finistère, Amour Lux was designed by David Raison. The boat is optimised for the conditions in which Richomme expected to be able to hold his own. But in this edition of the race, it's clear to see that there are two distinct fleets, foilers and Daggerboards, which in itself fires up the rivalry even more.
And meantime, do you think you can catch Yoann Richomme?
Of course. No, I mean, if you look at it, it's 700 miles ahead, I think, and it's still 10,000 miles to go. Yeah. So on the paper, yes, yes, we can still catch him. I can still catch him. But the truth is, like, there's also something I realized during this race is, like, his boat is maybe, let's say, between 15 to 20% quicker in the best condition for him. Yeah. But this amount of boat performance, just at the right time, if, for example, when you're sailing behind the front and you want to keep in front of this front as long as possible, it's giving you a lot of advantage.
In the meantime, a relaxed Boris Herrmann shared his thoughts about the contrasting characteristics of the leading boats.
Had a boat, Massif, which is a boat that I think is a bit the traditional school, the Vendee boat that is really kind of optimized for power and kind of really fast on flatter water we expected, but he managed to go pretty well through the Southern Ocean. So, but at the same time, the Koch boat also did a great job in the south. So it's really hard to pull an instant conclusion. I would have thought that the Massif boat would struggle a little bit more with the wavy conditions in the south, but I think we just had an astonishing south for them. With more reaching. I mean, it was really a different Vendée Globe than 4 years ago, and this shows again we need versatile, polyvalent boats that can be fast in all conditions, and it remains a really passionate subject to where you go with the evolution of IMOCA hull shape and boat design. It's amazing if you see the two leaders. They had totally different boats, different philosophies, very different in width and in boat shape, and they are just glued next to each other. And then that's kind of a beauty of this sport, I guess, too, to have this variety and it's really interesting times for the architects.
Elsewhere, Conrad Colman was giving a tour.
No, the crazy thing about this boat, and most of the IMOCAs like it, is that they're all made like this. The front of the boat is made up with these ribs, these reinforcements, and the skin in between the ribs on this boat is 5 to 6 millimeters thick. So you can hear those waves crashing underneath us. Oh! There's only 5 millimeters of carbon fiber separating me from the Southern Ocean right now. So that's a little bit of a scary thought, but you get used to it after a while. And I come up here regularly to do a check to make sure that everything is still glued together okay, and that the structure of the boat is okay.
Conrad Colman also had time to fly his drone and brought us these spectacular shots as he enjoyed the South Pacific. But Tanguy Le Turquais was cold.
Bon les amis, ce soir il fait très très froid là, je suis enfermé dans le bateau. Les températures sont négatives et ça caille, histoire d'évacuer la frustration. Soit tu fais une danse de la joie ou une danse de la malchance. Bon bah moi j'ai opté pour la danse de la malchance en me disant que les bonnes énergies allaient revenir et que c'était une opportunité de leur recoller quelques milles et puis voilà, ça part de là quoi.
Alan Roura on Hublot had problems of his own. He lost his jib top, a high-clued foresail, one of his key reaching sails, following a problem with the halyard lock.
Putain de merde! Tip top qui a lâché, le hook! On va remonter ce truc à bord maintenant! Ah putain! Merde! Je peux pas t'embarquer avec moi, putain! Je suis désolé, l'océan! Désolé. Putain, c'est à chaque fois quoi que tu te dis c'est pas là qu'il faut qu'il t'arrive un truc, putain c'est là que ça t'arrive quoi.
Returning to the Atlantic also meant more wildlife, as Thomas Royan discovered. On Thursday morning, the 2nd of January, the leaderboard looked like this. Charlie Dalin continues to lead the way and is 26 miles ahead of Yoann Richomme. Sébastien Simon in third is taking a very different route up the Brazilian coastline and is 345 miles behind Dalin. From there, the whopping 1,000-mile gap continues to the chasing pack led by Thomas Royan. Yoann Richomme remains the fastest Daggerboard boat and sits in 16th. The next in this category is Benjamin Ferret in 20th. Meanwhile, the youngest sailor of the event and on her first lap of the planet, 22-year-old Violette d'Orange is doing a superb job in 25th. And finally, the list of retirements has now grown to 5. The opening days of 2025 look very tricky indeed, and as the leaders are already discovering, it's going to be stressful. Having said that, the front runners are over 1,200 miles ahead of the course record, providing a hint that the first finishers could be back much earlier than expected. But then again, with over 4,000 miles still to go, no one dares mark a date on the calendar, at least not yet.